Then the sample space, let's move to the lecture. Once we have a probability model, that means we have a sample space when we have all possible outcomes. And we have a probability model. That means for each outcomes, we have the probability related. Obviously, since it's a probability, that means the probability of each outcome is between 0 and 1, and the sum is equal 1. Then to verify if it's a probability or not, we have to verify the probability of the sample space. That means the sum of the probability of outcomes is equal 1, and its probability is between 0 and 1. Then 0 and 1 are included, obviously. Then once we talk about probability models, that means we have the sample space and we have the probability for each outcome. Then like here, for example, when we toss a coin, لما نرمي قطعة نقدية, we have two possible outcomes اللي هما heads or tails, or head and tail. Then بمعنى this is head obviously and this is tail. Then the probability to have heads is half and the probability to have tail is half. Obviously this is when we have a fair coin, بمعنى coin في تناظر, ما فيها إمكانية أنه ينزل على الهيد أكثر من الكوين. طبعا that means we have a head fair coin, بمعنى coin متناظر. fair كلمة عدل, بس fair بمعنى الهيد والكوين معهم نفس الحظوظ. We can do the same thing once we do another experience. That means here we have to roll a die. Then when we have 6 outcomes, 6 possibility between 1 and 6. Since we have the same chance, then the probability for each one is equal 1 over 6, obviously. Then we have 6 outcomes, and the probability for each one is equal 1 over 6. We have the same thing here when we do this experience. That means once we roll a dice, when we roll 2 dice, then here we have 36 outcomes, 36 possibility. لأنه the first die can be 1, we can have as outcomes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and for the second one we have 1. Then we have the same thing, but in the second one we have 2. For the first die we have between 1 and 6, and for the the second one we have 3, and so on. Then to summarize, we have 36 outcomes. Since each one have the same chance, then the probability for each outcomes is equal 1 over 36. Then when we talk about probability models, that means we have all outcomes. That means we have the sample space, which is called capital S, and we have the probability model. That means we have the probability for each outcome. طبعا here related to probability, as I said, for each event, the probability is between 0 and 1. The probability of the sample space is equal 1. The third rule is related to the probability of A intersection of A. That means المكمل بالضبط. That means once this is A, this is the sample space, then the complement of A is the remaining part. That means once we are outside A, once the complement of A is equal X in the sample space, such that X is not in A. المكمل هو the outside part. Okay, X, I'm sorry, is not in A. I'm sorry. X is not an element of A. We have to put all elements of the sample space such that this element is not in A. Once you are not in A, when the element is not in A, that means the element is in the complement of A. Then these rules are useful. Here I have to use another way. I have to لا إله إلا محمد رسول الله. Okay. Here you draw an M&M's candy. In M&M's candy we have 6 colors, as you know. We have brown, red, yellow, green, orange, and blue. However, the probability for each color are not the same. That means we have 0.3 M&M's candy in brown when the color is brown, 0.3 when the color is red. You forget what is the probability when we have yellow color. Once it's green, it's 0.1. Once it's orange, it's 0.1. Once it's blue, it's 0.1. The question is the following. What is the probability of drawing a yellow candy? What we have to do in order to obtain the yellow candy?
دكتور شاشة معلقة.
كيف؟
شاشة معلقة على الملف.
شكرا بارك الله فيك. Thank you. It works now. بلا شباب إذا في مشكل في الشاشة أو شيء let me know على السريع أول ما. واضح الحين؟ التيبل أمامكم؟
واضح واضح.
Then we have an M&M's candy and we have 6 colors, as you know. We have the probability for 5 colors and we forgot what is the probability of the last one. The question, what is this probability? Is it possible to conclude this probability or not?
0.1 دكتور يارو.
Why we said 0.1?
لأن لازم كلهم يساووا واحد في الأخير. لما تجمعهم يساووا واحد.
المجموع يساوي واحد exactly. Then we have to then once we said this is x. زي ما قلت كل مجموعهم كلهم يساوي واحد. لما نجمع الباقي نجد 0.9. إذا الإكس معاه 0.1 لأنه بقاله 0.1 لأنه المجموع have to be equals 1. Is it clear? نمر السؤال اللي بعديه. What is the probability of not drawing a red candy؟ حتى ما يكون معي red candy. ما يهمني في الكولر بس المهم تكون not a red candy. Which one I have to choose? Exactly. We have to remove. Then what that means in terms of probability, I have to evaluate. Let's see A here, a red candy. What we need? We need the probability of the complement of A, which is equal 1 minus the probability of A. But you know the probability of A is equal 0.3. That's why it's equal 1 minus 0.3. Which is equal maybe 0.7. Is it okay? I know it's easy and you studied this last year. What is the probability that you draw neither a brown nor a green? إذا ما يكون ولا brown ولا green. ولا brown ولا green. What about the remaining probability, شباب?
0.6.
0.6. Okay. Then we have two ways. إما تجمع الباقي اللي هي 0.3 plus 0.1 plus 0.1 plus 0.1 or 1 minus 0.4. Any question? Here we have another problem, which is here we have the probability by age group, when the age is between 18 and between 18 and 23, when it's we have four interval here. Then we have the interval 18 to 23, 24 to 29. That's why we have 4 intervals. Show that this is a legitimate probability model. Why it's a probability model? What should I do? ايه المطلوب حتى نتأكد انها probability model؟
مجموعهم 1.
مجموعهم 1 و each one is between 0 and 1. Clear, each one is between 0 and 1. But once we have to evaluate the total, it's equal 1. For the second question, find the probability that the chosen student is not in the group 18 to 23. نبغاه not here. Where is it so? We have two ways. Emma, we have to add this probability, or we have to take 1 minus 0.57. Is it clear? Why? Because we need the complement of the set. Then we have to subtract 0.57 from 1. Is it clear? Here, once the number of outcomes is finite بمعنى finite بمعنى عدد محدد يمكن يكون 1 2 3 4. It's not infinity. That means here it's finite. That means we have n such that the number is equal n. We have a natural number such that the number is equal this natural number. Then here, once it's finite, we call it finite probability model. That means the number of outcomes is finite. Finite. إيه بالعربي finite شباب؟ What is the meaning of finite? No idea? محدود, or that means here finite. That means we have a natural number such that the number of outcomes is equal this number. بمعنى يكون 1 يكون 5 يكون 70 يكون 1000 بس المهم finite. It's not infinite. Then once we have the situation, we call it finite probability model. The model obtained is called finite probability model. And sometimes we use this Venn diagram in order to understand better the problem. We have here, for example, AAB once A intersection B is empty, but here we have A intersection B is not empty in the second case. But here we have once the number of outcomes is finite, we said we have a finite distribution. We have a finite, once we have a finite probability models, then once the number of outcomes is finite. Finite بمعنى محدود زي ما قلت. Here, this is another rule related to the multiplication for independent event. What is the meaning of independent event? بالنسبة للمعنى, that means no interference between A and B. But in terms of probability, what should I do? I have to verify this equality. Once I have two events such that the probability of A intersection B is equal the probability of A times the probability of B, then this event are independent. If not, we have two dependent events. Okay. Then to be independent, لما يسأل يقول prove the event A and B are independent. That means we have just to verify if this equality is true or not. If it's true, these events are independent. If not, it's dependent.